All right, everybody, welcome back into the Auburn Live Basketball Show. Appreciate you for joining us. I'm Justin Hokanson. With me, as always, Mr. Alan Head. What's up? How we doing?
What's up, buddy? How you doing? I'm excited for today. Little bracket
Yeah,
challenge.
little bracket challenge. Little bracket challenge. All right, so we are going to talk a little bit about Alabama State, a little bit about Louisville, a little about Creighton, anything else that's sort of on our mind as Auburn kicks off the NCAA tournament and tries to make it to the Final Four. And then we're going to do a little bracket challenge. We'll go through the bracket, we'll pull it up on the On3 bracket challenge, and we'll kind of go through some of our thoughts of who we think might win. Disclaimer: I quite literally have not looked at the bracket until right now. I am just slacking. So I mean, I know kind of who's in, and I know some of the matchups, but I haven't looked at it. So we'll just do it in real time. All right, let's do all that real quick. Shout out to Session Cocktails, sponsor of the show, sponsor of AuburnLive.com, downtown Auburn, right there on Magnolia Avenue. Go check them out. Happy hour 4 to 7. They're open Sundays 12 to 5. So go check them out. Really good old fashions and some other good stuff. So go if you come into Auburn for baseball, now that baseball's rolling, if you come in on a Saturday, go have a drink maybe before or after. Same thing on Sunday since they're open. Come on, go get one before or after, something like that if you're in town. But go check them out. Session Cocktail, downtown Auburn, right there on Magnolia Avenue, right next to Taco Mama. All right, let's talk Auburn real quick. Alabama State, what an ending. Alabama State beat St. Francis. Wild ending in that game. St. Francis looked in control of that thing for the majority. And Alabama State, to their credit, did not give up. Came back, and wins that thing basically at the buzzer. That's who Auburn's opponent will be on Thursday. I know I put some analytics up of Alabama State on the site. Really, the only thing that sort of stood out was their turnover percentage. They're the 5th best in the country at not turning the ball over. I mean, Auburn's 7th, and Alabama State's been even better than that. Other than that, they're about what you expect, Weird game against St. Francis. Alabama State didn't shoot a free throw till 5 minutes left. So to even be in position to win that game in attempting 0 free throws for 35 minutes was wild. But the way Auburn fouls, maybe they'll shoot more. Yeah, so I mean, they don't turn it over. They're pesky. On defense, I wrote a thing at auburnlive.com and just put a quick deal up about last year's game. People might forget. Alabama State came to Neville last year. Auburn won 82-62. It was December 22nd. Actually, I meant to look. I don't even know what games were around that, but it's kind of a weird time of year right there, like December 22nd. You're about to take a big, long break, and Auburn played sloppy. Auburn had a season-high 18 turnovers. They allowed a season-high 14 steals, so Alabama State had 14 steals. Both of those were the worst marks of Auburn's season last year. The turnover percentage was the turnover rate was the second worst mark of the season. So you win by 20 in a game you turn the ball over 18 times. So it was a sloppy effort. I looked kind of quickly at the scores throughout that game last year. Auburn trailed 9-7 almost 8 minutes into that game. They led then 19-11, like 10 minutes in. They led like 31-19 about 15 minutes in. They led at halftime by 21. And as Bruce Pearl mentioned, Alabama State outscored Auburn by 1 in the second half. Now, the caveat to that is Auburn actually pushed that lead to 31 with 5 minutes left, and then just decided that they were done for the night. And Alabama State went on a 14-3 run the last 5 minutes and made it a 20-point game. And where you look up and you're like, Alabama outscored you by 1 in the second half. Reality is you had outscored them by 11 with 5 minutes left, and I think they just sort of packed it in. And I actually, thinking more about that game, I don't remember the specific quotes, but I do remember that game I do remember Bruce after that game being very unhappy. He was pissed at just how they played and how they ended it. So anyway, Auburn won by 20, but it was just really, really sloppy. And so I think Bruce and the staff can use that a little bit and point back and go, guys, they beat you in the second half last year, guys. And stuff like that, even though Auburn played really poorly. And Alabama State maybe can use some of that internally and go, guys, you guys beat them by a point in Neville last year. Like, don't think you can't play with them, So there's those kind of head games, but obviously Auburn's got all kinds of advantages in this one. What are you looking for? I mean, obviously a win. I was thinking about it earlier. NCAA tournament's all about win, survive, and advance. It's the only thing that matters. I would say that's the only thing that matters, except this first game if you're a 1 seed. Like, I think if you're a 1 seed and you're playing a 16, then in this particular case, it's maybe a little bit more than just survive and advance, because this is such 116. Maybe you could go 215. And then after that, you never know. But man, if you're a 30-point favorite, you need to go play like it. It's you come out of this game and win by 8, right? Everybody's gonna go, problems, So this is everybody else is survived 7-10, 8-9. Yes, win by 1, get out of there. That's all that matters. For Auburn, dominate, don't foul. It's probably the main thing is, hey, go defend, sit down and guard, don't foul, and hit some shots. Like, you want to see a little bit of, okay, they're doing some of the fundamental things that they're going to need to do: defense, rebounding, little things that where you don't look at it and go, that's a kind of a crack in the armor here going into Louisville or Creighton. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little more than just win. I think there's a couple things you want to see them go, not just dominate, but like if they go hit 14 threes, that's great. But they're fouling still. I'd be like, I'll be a little concerned. Like, you know what I mean? So there's maybe a few things you want to see in this one.
Sure. I think probably where I'm at with it, and I agree with you, is that they need to play efficient, clean basketball where they control the flow of the game from start to finish. Auburn is the superior team. They need to perform as such. Mm-hmm. Just to, like you talked about, there's so many warning signs that would pop up if, and again, I think a lot of Tony Madlock, who's the head coach there, one of the good guys from the Tony Barbie era, and what he's been able to do at Alabama State, a SWAC school. They're going to play with a lot of pride. This is an in-state university that obviously is going to try to make sure that they're up for the challenge. But from a personnel grouping standpoint, they just don't match up with Auburn. And Auburn needs to play up to its capability in this game to kind of assure themselves that they're capable of doing this in the tournament, and also maybe assuage some of the fears of the fan base. And the fans are not overly important to what Bruce is trying to accomplish as far as like wins and losses, right? But I think to get them energized for a big game that you're going to have, whether it be Creighton or Louisville next, you need to kind of whet their appetite some, show them what this team was capable of earlier in the year, and kind of get some positive momentum flowing in this tournament. Again, you talked about the number. It's huge, 32.5-point favorite. Auburn needs to win this game, in my opinion, somewhere between that 20 to 30-plus margin standpoint. I mean, I think Auburn can get away with getting out to a massive lead, and if they choose to rest guys a significant amount in the second half or something like that, and Alabama State kind of claws their way back into it, I'm not going to be alarmed by any matter whatsoever if they're underneath that 32-point margin. But if they're playing starters all the way through and it's tighter than you want it to be, it just won't necessarily, from a presentation standpoint, give anybody any kind of confidence moving forward that you're going to have remedied some of the issues that plagued you last year in the tournament, and that you have the confidence to make a real run at the Final Four, which is, I think, what this fan base wants, what this coaching staff wants. I don't think it's expectation, but I think it's what they want. That's a goal for them to get to that point. So that's kind of what I want to see. Control the flow of the game, play efficient, play clean, don't foul. See if you can keep your man in front of you without necessarily committing unnecessary fouls, and set a positive kind of foreshadowing for what to expect in the next round. Because realistically, to me, regardless win-loss, I mean, yes, win against Alabama State, right? But set the attitude for how you're going to play for the next round. That's important too.
Yeah. Well, and I think back to the different scenario, but that championship team from 17-18, big, of course, we should have seen it coming. They went to St. Louis, got obliterated by Alabama. So clearly weren't playing well. Mm-hmm. And then they get in the tournament and they barely beat College of Charleston.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, well, it's survive and advance, And, but the reality was, and of course you saw it after the fact, but the reality was massive red flag because they went out the next game and got obliterated again by Clemson. And that team had it had some issues going on in the locker room towards the end of the season. So like not the same scenario, but it just, you don't want to play a close game against a team you're better than, or it's going to be a giant red flag. All right. So we think they're going to beat Alabama State. Louisville or Creighton. I wrote a day or two ago that I would rather them avoid Creighton, even if that means playing Louisville and Lexington. Both are tough. Like both are good teams. I don't know what kind of lift those Louisville fans might give them. Obviously a lift. I mean, if there's, are 10,000 Louisville fans going to roll in there? I mean, I guess maybe. I don't know how to quantify that exactly until it happens. I do think an element of that could fire Auburn up and go like, oh, okay, all right, cool. Like we've been good on the road. We've gone to Duke. We've gone to Mount. Like we've been away from Neville. Like it could lock them in more. You could. I mean, sometimes when you go on the road, you focus a little bit more. So anyway, like I don't know how all that'll play out. I just think, the 7-footer for Creighton, Kalbrenner, that's a challenge. Like you get a guy that can just play Janai one-on-one and it changes how you can defend everything with Auburn. And Creighton's got a top 25, top 30 defense. Played in the Big East, like has a win over St. John's. Close loss to A&M, I think non-conference. Went to Alabama, lost by 8. I just think they're probably a more proven, better team. I think Louisville is probably a little easier to guard. But just I don't know how to quantify the fan situation. So I lean, even though there'd be fans, I lean Louisville. I'd rather play the team that I think is a better matchup and say, okay, fine, bring a few more fans, fine. But I you know what I mean? I don't want to pull, so that's just me. Where do you sort of stand on Creighton versus Louisville and who you'd rather see Saturday?
No, I agree. You're talking about two very different matchups. One, Louisville has a set of dynamic guards that can score with anybody in the country. But again, you talked about their lack of size in the post on the show we did prior to this. And they're not overly athletic bigs either. There's nothing about Louisville that overly concerns me or scares me other than the fact that they did get better throughout the course of the season. I do think a lot of their head coach, but I see them as kind of a paper tiger to a degree. And the ACC in and of itself was kind of a shell this year. And that was exhibited through the SEC ACC challenge when you saw SEC teams go 14-2 versus that conference. By comparison, I think the Big East is a better basketball conference this year. I agree with you on that Creighton is a more proven team given some of the schedule that they played this year. And they do have a size, advantage in the post, where maybe Janai is neutralized. I don't know. Maybe Janai would get up for that matchup and may play his best game against another quality big. It would be interesting to see how that goes.
Have you watched a lot of him?
Some, not a ton.
Because, my only question would be, and, I was asking you, a guy Janai's height doesn't necessarily worry me. It's a guy that can get off the floor.
Right.
Where Janai can get his shot and can get yes, that creates problems and all that. But Janai's pretty creative at getting a shot off. It's the guys that have got the length but the mobility to get off the ground more than Janai that to me cause him issues. If it's just a big dude, I think Janai will be okay and won't be completely neutralized. It's somebody like Condon who's his height but can get off the ground quicker that you're like, is more springy that worries me. Anyway, I didn't know if that dude was springy or was he just like a lesser Zach Edey or what his deal was.
I didn't see him to be like a super athlete, but I think he's bouncy enough to be effective within what they try to do. And he's a presence down there and something that you have to account for. But again, the overall athleticism on Creighton's roster doesn't just blow me away. It's not a situation. I think they're very scheme heavy and they run really good stuff. Fantastic basketball coach and a guy that's done it at a high level for a really long time. But Auburn can match up with them in the backcourt. I think that's a situation where even if Janai is neutralized, Chad and Denver, Tahad, if they all come to play, Auburn can kind of overwhelm them some. So I like Auburn in either matchup. I probably talked myself into Creighton beating Louisville just because I'm not a believer in Louisville. And I could be way wrong on this, okay? They did play well in the ACC tournament. and good down the stretch. But I watched that game, and then I watched the replay again of them versus Ole Miss, a team that Auburn beat 3 different times this year, 3 different ways. And I just think Auburn can absolutely throttle them. Now, if you listen to Rick Pitino and that video clip that he had at his St. John's press conference the other day, Louisville does travel, and they will try to bring as many fans as they possibly can into Lexington. But you talked about it, Justin. This is a proven team. This is a team that's been on the road. If nothing else, the schedule this year prepared Auburn for the tournament as best as you possibly can, given who they played and where they played. You played in Maui, where you were on a neutral court and you played quality programs. You played at Duke. You played in Alabama. You played on the road at various places on the schedule. You played in Houston, okay? And if you want to call that a neutral court, you can, but that wasn't a neutral court by any means.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of preparation that goes into getting Auburn ready for this moment they're about to find themselves in the round of 32. And I think regardless of whether or not Louisville travels, Louisville is a better matchup for Auburn, though I think Auburn can win against either one of them, and I don't think the fan base is going to bother this team. I think they're veteran enough. I think they're going to be focused enough, or at least I hope they will be, that regardless of who they're playing and what the fan who's cheering in the stands, this team is going to be on a mission and prepared to play.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. And of course, there's the hope that you go take care of business against Alabama State, and nobody plays major heavy minutes. Let's hope Janai doesn't play 33 minutes against Alabama State. I mean, I guess he could, but hopefully nobody gets, whereas Louisville Creighton are going to go at it, you would assume. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like once you get to the tournament, man, everybody's good. It's just about matchups. And so I just kind of lean not avoiding Creighton because I think they've got a front line to combat or at least sort of throw at Janai, which then allows you to not double. And then it allows, maybe the guards don't get as many good shots. So it changes a lot of stuff. I think I like Creighton's coach. I mean, that guy's been around. McDermott's been around. Like, there's nothing he hasn't seen. Pat Kelsey's a good coach too, but a younger coach. I mean, so everything about Creighton just sort of screams good front line, experienced coach. And that's a team that's been to some places too. So, yeah. I think I saw a stat recently, and I guess Pat Kelsey would be in this. And it's the one, I've seen a lot of stats about national champions in the last 23, 24 years having to be top 25 defense, top 40 offense. I think it was something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's right. Top 25 defense, top 40 offense. And you have to have those qualifications. Another one, I guess somebody told me the other day that I hadn't really seen is no coach within their first 10 years has won a national championship. Have you seen that?
I haven't, but I would believe that.
And I was like, that surprised me. So I don't know. I didn't get to verify it, but I was like, is that right? I mean, you just think about college football. It feels like a relatively new coach can pop up and rejuvenate a program or energize a program fairly quickly. But I don't know. Maybe it just takes maybe it takes longer to rise the ranks in basketball. And it just takes a while. So by the time a guy gets to a program where you could win a national championship, he's been there. He's been coaching 8 years. In football, you could jump up and get a head coaching job at a pretty big school like that. I mean, I don't know. But I'm just tossing that theory out. I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's some truth maybe to that, but
no. I mean, because cohesion is such a big part of this game. And you've seen it the last couple of years, experience matters in the tournament. And so having a coach that has a veteran ball club and he kind of understands the inner workings and dynamics, again, yes, you can absolutely put a team together, but a program, I think, and how you build the culture within that program, and are they necessarily mentally tough enough? Because to play the amount of games, 6 in a row that you've got to win, it takes you understanding that team. And I don't know that you can do that straight out the gate, in 2 years or 3 years. Yeah. I think you kind of have to build that culture to be able to withstand what it takes to have a championship caliber program.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Auburn needs to play well Thursday, 1:50. We don't know game times, obviously, for Saturday. They. I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know. I'm trying to remember in the past. I mean, Saturday games are sort of spread out similarly. There's just not as many of them, so I could see it being an afternoon game, something like a 48 hours. I mean, it could be it. I guess they could push it at night. It just TV and depends on what everybody else does, and who knows what it'll look like. But we'll see. We'll see who they get. Louisville. It may be interesting, man. Louisville. The other interesting part is, would any fans in Lexington, would any Kentucky fans that live in Lexington that want to go watch basketball, would they show up and would they actually root for Auburn? And I don't. I think they'd show up. I think they'd probably just they wouldn't root for they wouldn't be like, let's get loud for Auburn. They would just wouldn't be loud for Louisville, and maybe they'd be a little bit of cheering for Auburn, but they're not going to go out of their way. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're going to be in the jungle with Kentucky fans acting like Auburn fans.
No, those two programs do hate each other. There is no love loss in between them.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put it beyond certain like diehard blue blood Kentucky fans to be screaming and cheering for Auburn.
I think they would. I think they would. Like, if Auburn made a big three or made a run, I could see if Kentucky fans were there, like clapping and cheering for that. But it won't be the same as Auburn fans, like where you're loud all the time, so you can't really count on that. Plus, the other thing about this is Rupp's big, man. So okay, if Louisville brings a certain number of fans, Auburn will bring their fans, then you'll have casual fans that are there. And so I don't know. I'm still curious. We'll see on Saturday. We'll see. I think if anything, it'll help Louisville as more than it'll hurt Auburn. And I guess you could say, well, if it's helping Louisville, it's hurting Auburn. I guess you could make that case, but you know what I'm saying? It won't be like a true road environment, like hostile.
No.
We're surrounded by the enemy. It'll just give Louisville a boost if that happens, but I don't think it'll have which I guess indirectly does have an effect on Auburn. But you know what I'm saying? It'll hurt Auburn indirectly, but it won't be like Auburn's affected by the crowd noise. It'll just be affected by Louisville maybe getting a boost and that kind of deal.
I'm with you. It's not going to be like going into Cameron Indoor. You're not facing that kind of an environment, or Alabama on the road and the level of hostility when you walked into, Coleman Coliseum. It's not that kind of an environment. You're right.
Yeah.
It could get loud, but it's not that level of energy that's going to feed a team in that way. But this kind of gets me on a greater stump. You said something that made me think when you talked about Kentucky fans cheering for Auburn. And I know I'm talking to an Auburn fan base here, but you should be cheering for every SEC school in the opening round. Like, having all 14 SEC teams advance to the round of 32 just brings legitimacy to everything that we have said about the dominance of this conference. Whereas I know typically it is not inherent for fans to cheer for other teams. This is the time where you want to show, like, hey, the selection committee was not wrong for putting in the number of teams that they put in. This is a tough conference. We were rewarded for playing a schedule this year, and everybody's scheduled up. And it brings legitimacy to what Auburn was able to accomplish. So whether it is counterintuitive or not, for the people that are listening to this podcast, cheer for other SEC teams, okay? At least for the first round, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I've always sort of been an SEC guy. Like, it's just I'll catch myself sometimes like, well, I don't care.
Yeah.
But like deep down, you're like, I mean, I'd rather, in a situation where like this, where you beat your chest for all season about being the best conference maybe ever, which whatever, that's hard to, that's subjective. But you go around and 6 of your teams lose in the first round.
Right.
It's like, it's just a little embarrassing. Like, it's just, and if you don't care, that's fine. But it's a little bit like, okay, now you got to hear everybody talk about, oh yeah, best conference ever, is all that crap. And I'd like to not hear that.
I'm with you. And to have 14 out of 32 teams representing your conference, that's a statement. Yeah. I mean, when you can say you're 14 of the top 32 teams in the country, that says a lot. And I think it brings legitimacy to your argument about how great Auburn's season is if you're just looking at it through the Auburn prism. But again, pride in your conference is something that I hope every fan has.
I changed my mind. We're going to root for 12.
Okay. I understand. I get it.
We're going to root for 12. Alabama will not be one.
No.
And Texas A&M will not be one.
Ooh, no.
We're going to root for 12. I have no interest and seeing Auburn play Texas A&M again in the tournament. There's just too much familiarity with what Auburn does, and you have a team that's going to come in so confident.
Sure.
If that happened about whipping you, that could Auburn win that? Sure, but I would rather avoid that scenario. Playing A&M again, I just would rather avoid that. And of course, you want Alabama to lose. Come on, I mean that's one where you're like, but everybody else is, I'm with you like for the first few rounds. But yeah, I don't A&M. I don't want any part of that, even if it means facing Michigan or Yale. Michigan might even be, I don't know, might even be. They got a couple of big men. I just the A&M thing, the psyche, the mentality of them coming in. If that happened, I don't like it.
I hear you.
Plus, they're really good. They underachieved probably by a couple of wins this year. Wade Taylor was hurt. Like that's a team that I don't know where they finished, but that's a team that should have been
probably a 3,
probably a top 4 seed in the league. Like they are that good. And so, anyway, we'll see how it goes. Expect Auburn to play well. Place they just were in a month ago in Rupp Arena. Hopefully they come out shoot well. By the way, any last thoughts, predictions? I'll say this. I had a feeling on what day are we on? We're on Wednesday. Monday, I told somebody, I go, man, I think Todd's going to bounce back. And I wrote it on Sunday or Saturday. I wrote in my thoughts after Tennessee, I said, last time he had a stretch like this, he had a stretch of 4-2-4 when Auburn had that 3-game home stretch. He had a 4-2-4. And then he bounced back with 21 at Kentucky, 19 at A&M, 19 against Alabama. And here we are. He had 5 against Ole Miss and Nashville, 0 against Tennessee. And I go, that's not one I'm counting out. Todd, that's not one I'm counting out. I'd actually bet on him to bounce back. And so I wrote that. And then I told somebody on Monday, I just randomly, I go, man, I think Todd's going to bounce back. And then Tuesday morning, I get a text from somebody on Auburn's staff, and they go, I can't remember exactly the words, but it was essentially like I think Todd's about to like go off. And so we'll see. I do have a good feeling that he's gonna bounce back and knock down some shots, and play well. And you don't need him and Shaney to both go off. You just can't have 0 from the bench. It'd be nice if they both would get their average, which is about 10. But you can't have both of them. You can't have both of them disappear and you foul a bunch. You can't have a bunch of things going at once. So anyway, that my only thoughts are watch the fouling, watch how Auburn defends without fouling. Make sure they don't do that. And then have a good shooting day. Knock down 9-10 threes. Show that you got some rhythm back, and I'd feel pretty good about going into Saturday.
I think that's a good pick with Tahad, and I think the way the tournament will be called will play to his advantage. The SEC is so physical. He's still a freshman where his body's not as developed as other guys, but I think his game translates well to the tournament, and I think he's motivated, ready to show he's not in a freshman slump and that he can get out. If I'm looking for one other thing, it's how is Chad going to be mentally coming into this game? Will he be locked in? Because I think he is a catalyst for Auburn making a Final Four run or not. I think if Chad Baker-Mazara is at the top end of his game and he's able to get his 14, 15, 16 points, he's also engaged from a rebounding and defending standpoint. Chad's a guy that sees the game at a really high clip.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy with a lot of basketball IQ. If he's not making careless turnovers and just truly locked in, I like Auburn to make a really, really big run in this tournament. If he's not, I do have concerns about Auburn getting beyond the Sweet 16. I think he's that much of a catalyst to this team and can be a difference maker because, again, Janai's going to get his. I feel comfortable in saying that each and every night.
Yeah.
Denver is consistent enough that I know I can count on him at the point guard position, and even when he's playing the off guard spot, regardless of whatever role he's in, he'll be consistent enough that he'll be able to contribute. Chad is the one I worry about. And if he's not mentally engaged, that's not good for Auburn. But if he's locked in, if he's ready to go, and he shows you that, and he gets that confidence going, that swagger going, without necessarily doing something that would be detrimental to the team, I really like, again, Auburn to make a run here, because I think he's that much of an impact on what the ceiling can be for this team. Not necessarily the floor, but the ceiling.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think he's in a good place mentally. We'll see. I think you never know 100% with him, but I sensed a different Chad in Nashville being on the court watching him. I think the first half Ole Miss I think he needed to get into the flow. He wasn't starting. I think that bothered him. But then the second half he was a different player, and I thought the Tennessee game he was on point. So you really just had the one bad foul. Well, I mean, I kind of had two bad fouls in the second half Tennessee game, but like in terms of sort of being locked in and not getting ahead of himself when it comes to his emotions, I thought he was fine. And again, you never know, but I do think the Alabama game was a little bit of a wake up call for him, at least temporarily. Which at this point in the season, you just need it to last temporarily.
Yeah, 6 games. That's all I needed to last.
Yeah. So, like, I do think that was – I think the coaches and the players, I think after that one was like – I think there was some talk to him like, Yale was different. When the Yale thing happened, I think it was still treated a little bit like, yeah, you can't do that. But I think there was a little bit of we didn't think he should have gotten thrown out. And there was a little bit of maybe it wasn't a trend yet, even though he had some instances last year. But then the season ended. So, like, when are you going to address it? When are you going to, and I know they kind of handle some things with him in the off season, spring, summer, like there's some things being worked on, but no games were being played, and so
Right.
It's kind of the first time where he's done something to this degree. I mean, you get kicked out of Alabama and they lose in overtime, like, and then you got games to play and you could win a national championship. There's a lot on the line and a lot of seriousness to what he did this time. And I think that weighed on him a little bit. I think this is a little bit different. I'm not saying it's going to change him, but I do think for the time being, he understood that he messed up. And that this team really can win a national championship, and you cannot do that junk anymore. We'll see. I mean, you're out of the SEC, so do these other teams? Do they go at him like the other SEC teams did? I mean, they might know to, but without the familiarity, does that? I don't know that it happens. Maybe Sweet 16, maybe something maybe with a week to prepare for Auburn, a team's like has time to go. Let's remember to get on that Chad guy. Maybe. I don't know that it'll happen this opening weekend, but I could see it maybe happening as you go. But I thought he did a lot of Ole Miss, would he have 6 assists? I mean, he did some good things. It'd be nice if Chaney got back in flow. He's just man. The thing with Chaney is he's such a passive player that with Chaney, the game comes to him. So when the game comes to him, he can have he's really good, and if the game comes to him consistently, like he can have some good games, like he had that stretch of double-digit scoring. But when it doesn't really come to him, it doesn't. Like he doesn't force it, and so because of that, it's just sort of a roller coaster with him, where it's a couple of games where he dominates and a couple of games where he disappears because he's number one. He's not like the number 1, 2, 3, or 4 priority to score,
right?
And then on top of that, he doesn't get the ball and go, all right, it's my time. Like I'm about to take this guy. So you just have games where he disappears. And in the last handful of games, he's just hadn't done it. Other than Ole Miss, where he grabbed 7 boards in Nashville, where it was the first time in a while where he was like going to get rebounds. He's like, that ball's mine. Other than that, he's really been non-existent for about 5 or 6 games. That can't happen. He didn't need to go off every game, but he's too athletic to not go grab boards when he's in there. He's too athletic to not go get 7 rebounds. I agree. He's just not. So I would like to see a little bit more aggression from him on the boards. I don't know what he ended the season averaging, about 10 points. It'd be nice if he scores off the bench and Tahad scores off the bench. Like good luck beating. I mean, Auburn's going to be real hard to beat if those guys both are scoring. So it'd be nice, but it didn't have to. I would take 6 boards every night from Chaney, and he scores 1 bucket. I would Take that versus the game where he might pop up for 12 because he popped up for 13 against Florida and Auburn got smoked. Like it doesn't him scoring doesn't necessarily mean, but go give me 6 boards from you, Chaney. I'm gonna like where Auburn's defensively. I'm gonna like where Auburn's at. Defensive boards. I'm talking about like I'm gonna like where Auburn's at defensively, holding teams down. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's do bracket.
Okay.
Let's pick a bracket. Zach's gonna come up. Zach's gonna walk us through the bracket, and let's pick this thing. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. Let's pick the game. If you and I disagree, Zach, whatever you think will be the tiebreaker.
Okay. That works.
Okay. And if you just do nothing but side with Alan, this is our last podcast.
So I'm assuming we're all in agreement for Alabama State here in the first game.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely not.
Go ahead and click that one for y'all. We can start with the 8-9.
Okay.
Who you got? You go first every time, Alan.
Okay. I've talked myself into Creighton for this game. I think I do believe their advantage in the post is going to weigh on Louisville. I don't love the ACC in this tournament, even though North Carolina performed really, really well last night. But I'm going to go with Creighton here. What about you?
Yeah, I'll go the same. I mean, I think they're the better team. And I just something, and I could be wrong. Something inside me is like all this talk about Louisville and the fans and and they're just going to lose.
Yeah, that's the way I feel.
And it won't matter.
Michigan, UC, San Diego, 5 versus 12.
This is my first upset on 5 versus 12. I'm going UC San Diego. Love the way these guys play. That Michigan does have the size advantage. Danny Wolf on the inside that's a lot for them to overcome. But give me UC San Diego right here.
I don't know. I saw Fanta from Field of 68 pick UC San Diego to beat Auburn. So I guess, I mean, obviously they're good. Michigan won the Big Ten tournament. So I've watched nothing of UC San Diego. So is that your upset? Well, let's go with that. That's fine.
I got a couple 5-12s
put to rest we'll put the rest the Trey Donaldson reunion with Auburn.
Got it.
Yale, Texas A&M, Bulldogs have a chance to knock off another SEC team in the first round.
They do. I went with A&M here. I think that's a tough matchup for Yale, but it'll be interesting. Justin, how do you see this one?
You're picking Yale?
I'm picking A&M.
You're picking A&M? That's fine. Part of me thinks because of Yale, what Yale did last year, everybody's going to go Yale, and then they're not, and then they're going to lose. But they're playing really well right now. And A&M, I don't know. I might let you do this one, Zach. The thing about A&M is we just talked about them. They're so good, but they'll have had games this year where you're like, what, y'all lost at home to Vanderbilt? I mean, I get Vanderbilt's good, but like, what are y'all doing? Yale's playing really good.
You're making a lot of points here. And here's the other thing. I don't think A&M's style translates well to the tournament. They're so physical that I think they're going to get themselves into foul trouble, and that's what happened to them last year.
Yeah, I'm leaning Yale again. I think they might do it again. All right. So what do you think, Zach? Are you deciding differentiator here?
So Alan had A&M and you had Yale.
You sticking with A&M? Okay.
Yeah, I think I got to go with A&M here. I don't think Yale strikes twice. I think A&M's good enough to at least get to the second round, man. I think they're playing really well, and I just don't see Yale coming out of this one. I think, like Alan said, too physical for Yale this year.
That's fine. Also want Yale again. Can you imagine how fired up Janai Broome and Chad Baker Mazzara and Denver Jones and Chris Moore and Dylan Cardwell and Bruce Pearl and Stephen Pearl? Can you imagine how fired they'd be if they got to play Yale again? Like, Yale's good. Like, it wouldn't even be a disrespect thing. They'd be like, hell yeah. Like, let's go. We're not committing 25 fouls, and Chad's not getting kicked out again. But I mean, that would be, and we'd have a week to get ready for that game. Oh my gosh, it'd be beautiful.
Ole Miss and the team that set the new NCAA record last night for threes in a tournament game, North Carolina.
I honestly believe that national sports columnist that called Ole Miss a fraud set North Carolina up for failure. I think they are going to be dialed in on this game. I also think North Carolina poured it all out last night to make sure that they got themselves into the field of 68. So I'm going to go with Ole Miss here. And here's the thing, whereas Ole Miss lacks size, North Carolina doesn't have elite size either. So you're talking about a guard-centric game. And I think Chris Beard will have his team ready to play specifically defensively and try to turn North Carolina over a couple different times in this game for critical possessions.
Yeah, it's cool. We can go Ole Miss.
Iowa
I
State.
think Sean Padula is a good, could be a really good story in the tournament. He's a good tournament guard.
Iowa State versus Lipscomb.
Iowa State.
Yeah, Iowa State. Even though they're missing one of their best players, Iowa State in this game.
That's still good.
A popular upset pick here: Marquette versus New Mexico, 7 versus 10.
Let me see.
On this one, by the way, I'm looking at on Twitter right now, or X, and Evan Mayakawa just literally posted a graph on teams that play up to their competition this year and teams that have not played up to their competition. And on teams that have played some of their best ball against better competition, New Mexico's 5th on that list.
Ooh.
I'm just sort of looking to see who's on there. Florida, of course, is 1.
This was one of my upset picks, just so y'all know where the tiebreaker's going.
Yeah, mine too. I was debating it. Like in multiple brackets I have that I've filled out on this. I am the antithesis of Justin here, where I've already filled out like 3 different brackets. I've got New Mexico, and I'm going to stick with it. I think New Mexico, because you're going to have upsets in the first round. You do every year, and at least it's like 4 or 5 of them. So,
all right.
Any chance Bryant stuns Michigan State here?
I mean, I don't know anything about Bryant, but I'm going to go no. I'm going to go Michigan State.
No, yeah, I think Michigan State's getting to the Elite 8.
Agreed. Second round here: Auburn, Creighton.
Auburn.
Yeah, let's go Auburn.
UC San Diego, Texas A&M.
I've actually got UC San Diego in this game.
Okay, let's do that.
Let's do that. Ole Miss, Iowa State.
Ole Miss. I don't like Iowa State as much without their second leading scorer, even though they're still really, really good. But I will defer to you two because I think we're going to have a difference of opinion here.
Yeah, I'd still lean Iowa State. Because the guy that got hurt, it's not one of their 2 point guard. It's
their off guard, isn't it? It's their 2 guard.
Second, so it is their. It's not Lipsy. It's not Lipsy. It was Gilbert.
Yes, I think it is Gilbert. Yeah.
Oh man, they were really good against Auburn. They've kind of been up, and when they've been healthy, they've been really good. Ole Miss is just. I think Ole Miss is good. Ole Miss is weird. I haven't watched them play Auburn 3 times and watching Auburn spank them twice.
Mm-hmm.
I think, okay, like Ole Miss is fine. But then you're like, well, they went to Alabama and won. And Kentucky walked in there and didn't win. They beat Kentucky. And Tennessee walked in there. They beat them. And they walked into Louisville and won by 22 or 20. And you're like, okay. I mean, I guess it skewed what I watched Auburn do to them. And then some of their other performances have been, pretty good. So they're a matchup. Like if it just depends on the matchups with them. So all right, let's fine. Let's go Ole Miss. Let's go Ole Miss there.
Zach, just for commentary, who do you have in your bracket?
So I actually had Ole Miss losing to North Carolina in the first round.
Okay.
And I had North Carolina beating Iowa State. So I'm completely fine
with
Ole Miss here. New Mexico, Michigan State.
Oh, yeah, I've got Michigan State all day in this game. And I think highly of New Mexico, but no, I think that's a very disciplined and veteran ball club.
Yeah. All right, let's go let's hold this and then go to the other bracket. Let's get the Sweet 16 everywhere.
All right, Florida.
I want to tell people what we think of Auburn, like right off the bat. You got to wait for that.
Yeah. I'm assuming we're all going with
Florida.
Florida over Norfolk
Yes.
State.
Sure.
Yes.
UConn, Oklahoma.
UConn.
UConn.
Yeah.
Memphis, Colorado State. And to note, this is the only game in the whole bracket where the 12 seed is favored over the 5 seed.
What?
I've got Colorado State.
Yeah, I do too. Memphis is missing like their second best player, I want to say, for the tournament. He just got hurt.
Wait. The guard? Not Haggerty, but the other dude.
Who is it? I need to look it up real quick.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now.
had it on the tip of my tongue the other day.
Those 2 guards. Haggerty went off against Auburn, but the other guy didn't do much.
Tyrese Hunter.
That's like a forward, isn't it?
Yeah, he got hurt in the semifinals of the conference tournament. I think he's out for the entire NCAA.
Ooh. All right. Well, yeah, that's fine. I don't know much about Colorado State. Memphis is kind of a streaky team anyway. I don't. They could get hot but yeah, go Colorado State.
Yeah, I think they've got a big time transfer from Colorado and Colorado State underneath that Tad Boyle team that was really good last year. So I believe he's the driver there for them. But yeah, I've talked myself into that one. That's another 5. Is that 12-5?
Yes.
Okay.
12-5. And then the 4-13 matchup, another potential upset pick for a lot of people, Maryland versus Grand Canyon.
I went with Maryland here, but I could be talked into Grand Canyon. I think they play a unique style of basketball and really up tempo.
I'll go Maryland.
All right. Missouri versus Drake, one of the most popular 6 versus 11 upsets in the tournaments from what I've seen.
And I think some of that is because Missouri has not played well as of late. They've been kind of on a downward trajectory. I'm going to chalk that up to familiarity within the league. And I think that is something that happens where you get an opportunity for fresh breath and you're playing a team that doesn't know you stylistically the way the teams in the conference do. I went with Missouri here.
Notable wins for Drake, by the way, for those who don't know. They beat Miami, FAU, they beat Vandy by 11, and went on the road and beat Kansas State.
The Vandy by 11 has my attention and Kansas State. Miami's me. I think their coach quit, middle of the year this year?
I'm going to go Missouri.
Okay. Texas Tech versus UNC Wilmington.
Texas Tech, yeah.
Kansas versus Arkansas, probably the most intriguing first-round matchup of the tournament.
I've got Arkansas just because I want to see the matchup of Calipari versus Pitino in the second round.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, which like when the selection committee does stuff like this, you're like, okay, so we're supposed to believe that you guys just you did everything by the book. And who knew? It just happened that way. And look at that, Calipari plays Bill Self, and then if he wins, he gets to match up Pitino second round. That's just how it worked out. You know, what do you want us to do? Like. And that's happened multiple times. Like every year, there's a matchup or two that you're like, okay,
they orchestrate
that's such a storyline. And then we got to deal with Louisville and Lexington, and you're like, anyway, yeah, let's go Arkansas and St. John's there.
Okay, Florida, UConn.
Florida.
And
I'm not even thinking twice about it. Sorry.
Colorado
Harley.
State, Maryland.
I'll go Maryland.
Missouri, Texas Tech.
Texas Tech.
Let's go Texas Tech.
Arkansas and St. John's.
St. John's.
St. John's, that will be a bloodbath.
Yeah, that's going to be a war for sure.
Okay, and to move on here, we'll come back and get the Sweet 16 going.
Yeah.
I'm assuming everyone's going with Duke here.
Yeah, Duke there.
Mississippi State, Baylor.
Ooh. I'm going to let you go first here, Justin, because I don't know what to think on this one.
I don't know. I haven't watched Baylor. I would like to think like Mississippi State, you would like to think has the type of player in Josh Hubbard that would go off in the NCAA tournament, but Mississippi State's kind of like Ole Miss to me. Like they're pretty good, but I don't completely trust them. But I'll go Mississippi State. What did Baylor? Baylor. Yeah, but Kansas kind of fell off. We'll go Mississippi State.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's fair. The only thing I worry about is Chris Jans distracted at all with his name being involved with Iowa? I doubt it, but I do wonder on that front. But I think Mississippi State's a solid pick.
Oregon versus Liberty in the 5-12 matchup.
Liberty.
Oh, I've not watched Liberty at all. I mean, I would probably go Oregon just because, like, Oregon's got some really good wins. I mean,
Yeah.
Oregon beat Alabama. Oregon, who else did they beat in Las Vegas? There's somebody else that they beat there.
Let's see. They've also beat Maryland.
Yeah. Who they beat at non-conference?
That's what I tried to find. It's not in their notable wins for some reason.
Okay, so they've got wins against Troy, who's a tournament team, Texas A&M,
Yeah.
Alabama, SC, Stanford. No, they lost to Illinois. Maryland, Ohio State. And then they went on just an absolute tear at the end of the year where they knocked off Northwestern, Rutgers, Iowa, Wisconsin, USC, Indiana, Washington, Indiana, and then lost to Michigan State. But here's the thing. Other than Wisconsin out of that group, it was kind of a lackluster group of Big Ten teams that they went on that streak against. So I don't know. I'm with you on the early victories where they've been impressive, but I liked what I saw of Liberty and kind of how they spread the ball and spread the floor. I think they could create some issues for Oregon here.
Yeah, my first instinct was to go to was Oregon, just because some of those non-conference wins were pretty impressive. If they'll do that, if they'll play like that, I guess.
All right,
Whatever
Zach.
you want, Zach.
Yep, you're picking.
I went with Oregon too. I just don't
Okay.
know if Liberty's really been tested. They don't really have that signature win. I look at. They got the win over K-State, but it was kind of a more down year for K-State, and they really don't have another signature win outside of that. So I went with Oregon.
Okay, I think that's fair.
Arizona versus Akron.
Arizona.
Same.
BYU versus VCU.
BYU.
Same.
Wisconsin versus Montana.
Badgers.
Yeah.
St. Mary's versus Vanderbilt.
I went with Vandy in the upset, but I mean, it wouldn't shock me if St. Mary's won that game, obviously.
Yeah, we can go Vandy.
And then I'm assuming Bama over Robert Morris.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Duke, Mississippi State.
Duke.
Oregon, Arizona.
Arizona's the direction I went on that one.
That's fine. Yeah, I would lean that way.
BYU, Wisconsin.
I went BYU.
Yeah, let's go BYU.
Bama, Vandy.
Bama.
That'd be a funny second round game. Get to play Vanderbilt again. Be like football. You just get Vanderbilt
Okay.
all the time.
Go ahead and click Houston. Gonzaga versus Georgia.
Oh, Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Clemson, McNeese.
I went Clemson, but that's a 5-12 that could
And now what do you do? I mean, Will Wade's taking the NC State job. What's he doing? I mean, like,
He's still coaching, supposedly.
I mean,
is what
yeah,
the
like,
report
but
said.
just,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That could inspire. I don't know. Clemson. Let's go Clemson.
And Clemson's his alma mater. So I'm not saying he would. I'm saying maybe he's a different layer of inspired for that game, but
I
I
want to
doubt
pick
it.
McNeese. I want to pick McNeese State on
I
that.
picked McNeese personally. This is my, but then also too, you got Purdue High Point here, and High Point's been a very popular upset pick as well.
I'm going to go Purdue on that one. Let's change it. Let's go McNeese. Let's just roll the dice here on this
Let's
one.
go McNeese.
And then Purdue for the 4.
Yeah, let's go Purdue. Like yeah, let's go Purdue. Braden Smith. That's a guy you want in the NCAA tournament.
Then you got Illinois playing the winner of Texas versus Xavier, which will be played later on Wednesday.
Illinois.
Yeah, I'm going to go Illinois. Even though if it's Texas, I mean, they obviously have one of the elite scorers in all of college basketball right now. If he has a game, he can make it interesting. But I think Illinois is the better team.
Kentucky versus Troy. And to note, Kentucky has lost the past 2 first-round games when they've been a top 3 seed.
Ugh.
They lost to St. Peter's, and then they got upset by
Oakland.
Yeah, Oakland.
I'm going to go different coach, different outcome. Let's go with Kentucky here because I think they're going to finally be healthy. I think they're going to have at least one of their point guards back. Maybe they'll show up defensively in this game. Sun Belt's not a great basketball conference, though it's improved. I watched Troy play a good bit this year, and I think they're going to be highly undersized going against that Kentucky front line. So I think Kentucky here by a pretty good margin.
All right. UCLA, Utah State.
I went Utah State. What do you guys think?
That's fine. I know nothing about either one of those teams.
Zach?
Yeah, I'll go with Utah State there too. I'm assuming we're all picking Tennessee.
Yes.
Houston, Gonzaga.
Houston.
McNeese against Purdue.
Purdue.
Yeah, Purdue.
Illinois, Kentucky.
I went Illinois right here, just because I don't know what to expect from Kentucky from game to game.
I would go in that scenario. I would go Kentucky.
Okay.
I mean, if Kentucky's healthy, they're pretty decent chance they're going to score and hit buckets. I think about Tennessee going into Illinois and winning. I think about Duke destroying Illinois, and I think Kentucky's shown that Kentucky beat Tennessee. Kentucky has a win over Florida. Like Kentucky's shown that they can at least beat some of the best teams in the country. I don't know if Illinois, those are just the two that come to mind. Losing those, I'm sure that they have a win, but I'll go Kentucky.
Yeah, I guess as a tiebreaker, I'll also win Kentucky here.
Okay.
Just because I think their ceiling's a little bit higher, and they've been more battle tested than Illinois. Utah State, Tennessee.
Oh man, Tennessee, Kentucky.
Yes.
Well, this is our last one, so we'll finish this bracket and work backwards. Houston, Purdue.
Houston.
Kentucky, Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Did they split? They split. What did they do? Did Kentucky win in Rupp and Tennessee won in? No. Kentucky swept them.
Yeah, Kentucky swept them.
Ooh.
Yeah, because they won the first one in Rupp, and then they went in there, and you're thinking, and I think they were down. Kentucky went to Tennessee down one of their top players. Like they might have been down Lamont Butler or Jackson Robinson. Somebody was out in that game, and they still won. But I'll go Tennessee. I'll go Tennessee because I do think Tennessee right now is playing better offense than they were earlier in the SEC season. Like when Auburn held Tennessee to 70, that's the least amount of points Tennessee scored in the last 6 games.
Now
they're playing better on that, which has been their issue. Like they're going to play defense. They're playing a little bit better offense, which they did play better offense against Auburn. That makes them a much different team.
No, I agree. And there's a part of me here that wants to pick Kentucky, and it's not fair to Rick Barnes,
Yeah.
But regular season Rick is a real thing. And so his reputation in the tournament since that Final Four run with TJ Ford in the backcourt at Texas has not been what you would have expected. So
let's break the streak this year.
I'd go Houston here.
Okay.
17-12. Final score.
Yeah.
Houston, Tennessee.
Duke, Arizona.
Duke for me.
Yeah, go Duke.
BYU, Bama.
Ugh. What are we doing?
I'm going Bama, but it's not like I want to. Just, you know what I mean? I just can't sit here in good faith and say I think Alabama's going to lose to BYU.
That's Duke, Bama.
I would have said BYU.
Okay. Well, if you would have said BYU,
I'm like Alan. I can't lie to the people and act like I think Bama's going to lose to BYU.
No, I can't do it, man.
I have BYU losing in my bracket in the first round. So for me to say they're going to make a run and play Duke in the Elite Eight is just not true.
Okay.
Man, so Alabama might play Robert Morris, Vanderbilt, a team they've already played and beat. BYU. Compare that to Auburn potentially playing Creighton in Michigan or Texas A&M.
Or Louisville.
What are we doing?
Duke versus Bama. I'm assuming we're all going Duke just to.
Yeah, I'm going Duke here. I like that matchup for Duke.
Then you got Florida, Maryland.
Florida all day.
Yeah, Florida. Let's go Florida St. John's. I don't know, man. Let's go Florida. I'd go Texas Tech there. I would. I'd go Texas Tech.
I've got St. John's, but Zach, your call, man. What do you
I
think?
I had Texas Tech. I don't think
Let's go
Rick's
Texas
going
Tech.
to get them all the way there, and then Florida, Texas Tech.
I mean, it's hard to bet. It's hard to pick against Florida. I mean, they don't have a weakness. Like, what would their weakness be? I mean, they've got every piece, and I thought that when they came into Neville, I was like, listen, this is not a great matchup for all. And Auburn's kind of similar. Like, Auburn's got a lot of pieces too, and Duke's got a lot of pieces. But my gosh, with Florida, I mean, what do you need to happen to beat them? I mean, they got big men. They got guards that can shoot. They got big wing guys that can defend and can score. And like,
I think you have to have Florida off their game. That's what you have to have because you saw it against Georgia. And Georgia played some really good defense in the first half of that game. I mean, some of the matchups defensively with how they switched from zone to man kind of confused Todd Golden's group there for a little bit. So you got to give credit to them. And then they had enough to hold them off in the end. So I think you have to create a little bit of your own luck by doing some things differently to catch them off guard. But I think they also have to be off that night to lose the game.
I think there's only a few teams. Like, Florida is one of the few teams that it's going to take. I just think it's going to take an off night, which you cannot predict, or it's going to take Duke or Houston or, Auburn in the right circumstances to beat them.
Right.
So I'd go Florida, yeah.
Florida over Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then back to the South, we got Auburn versus UC San Diego.
Auburn.
Yeah, Auburn, Michigan
Miss,
State.
So Michigan State, and then Auburn, Michigan State here.
Auburn.
Yeah, I've got Auburn.
Million. I'm just kidding. But yes.
And then you got your Final Four, all 1 seeds. Real nice chalky.
Who are we? What did
here.
we do? Why did we do that? What? We are who everybody makes fun of.
Well, to be fair, every single major analyst in the world has the same Final Four. It feels like.
Yeah, it's the most chalky Final Four that I can remember from a lot of different people.
It'd be hard to not go. I don't remember who do we have Houston. It'd be hard to not go Houston, and to me, Houston and Florida. Although Duke's the better team, but I think Alabama's super dangerous. We had Houston beating Tennessee. Yeah, I mean, I could see the 2 seeds winning, I guess, a lot of those games, except for Florida. Well, Florida, we had Texas Tech beating St. John's. Florida's the one that I'm not sure I see the 2 seed. I don't see it. The other ones, I could see Michigan State beating Auburn. I could see Bama beating Duke. I could see Tennessee beating Houston.
Yeah, every one of those.
And then if Tennessee beats Houston, you would potentially have 3 SEC teams in here. And if Bama beats Duke, you could have 4, depending on how Auburn and Florida gets out of theirs.
Yeah, I just haven't watched Houston in a while. I would love to pick Tennessee to beat them. But here we are.
So what we got in the Final Four, guys? Duke, Houston. We'll start there.
Houston.
Where's all the Houston love? All right, so Auburn beat them. Bama beat them.
Yeah.
I mean, Auburn and Bama both beat them. Now Auburn, that could have gone either way. Tahad went off. Auburn could have lost that game. Bama that could have gone either way. Bama wins. Why all of a sudden is Houston? And then Houston played nobody all year.
Let's go Duke. You've talked me into it. Let's go Duke here.
But for real, why? I've seen multiple ESPN people go Houston National Championship. I get that they're intimidating and they're big and defense and they do all these good things, but they lost to Auburn and Alabama. Close losses. Easily could have won them, but they didn't. They lost in overtime to San Diego State, who just got obliterated by North Carolina. And then Houston beat Troy. Beat BYU by 31. Beat Kansas in overtime, 2 overtimes. Lost to Texas Tech by 1 in overtime. We're just going to tournament teams. Baylor beat Baylor by 10. Beat Arizona by 4. Beat Iowa State by 9. I mean, beat Texas Tech again. There's some tournament teams. I get it. Baylor beat BYU again, beat
See,
Arizona. Like,
now you're talking me into Tennessee being in the Final Four. Like listening to that, and then I think about what Tennessee had to go through and how much more
yeah,
prepared
like
they are.
they beat up on some good Big 12, like, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Baylor, not bad team, BYU, beat BYU a couple times. They're good, but like I really want to go Tennessee over Houston.
Let's do it, man. Zach, go backwards on this one. Put Tennessee in. SEC gets 3.
Yeah, SEC dominating.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good with that. And honestly, the only one I would maybe change with that would be, but we're not going to do that on this podcast. We're not going to pick Michigan State.
Well, and I hear you because I heavily thought about saying Michigan State right there. It's
But
not
the other
like
thing I'll say, if Auburn wins too, like don't let Auburn get hot. Don't let Auburn get their mojo back. You know what I'm saying? Don't let Auburn win their first 2, look good and beat Creighton, and then get a week to prepare, get their confidence back, a week to prepare, and they play Yale or even Michigan or something and win. Like, don't let Auburn get some mojo back. That's if there's one team in this tournament that runs off pure mojo and swagger, it's Auburn. I mean, at 100. I mean, when they get that going,
sure.
so don't let them get that back. So if they were to get to Michigan State, I would feel much different about Auburn than I would feel maybe today. So
I think
I'm
that's
cool
fair.
with this. Yeah.
Duke, Tennessee.
Duke. I mean, good Duke.
Okay.
And then Florida, Auburn.
Florida. Unfortunately, Florida for me.
Yeah. I mean, if we're just being fair, Florida at that point, they're both playing really well. Florida at that point is just steamrolling. My gosh, they would have won the SEC tournament. They would have steamrolled their through to there. And
Yeah. And the thing you can't predict is injuries. You don't know what's going to happen on that front because that changes things enormously. I mean, I think we all remember what happened when they lost Micah Hanglocken last year and how it changed the inner workings of that team. So,
yeah.
You got Florida, Duke, and the Natty.
I went with Florida to win it all. That was my pick. I've played into percentages.
They're going to be they're probably going to be the most popular pick, I would think. I mean, maybe there's some Duke love,
So right now, 25% of brackets have Duke winning, 21.3% have Florida, and then Auburn is third with 10.8.
I mean, I get it. Duke's steamrolled some people. I tell you what, but I think Florida's got some link. Like, Cooper Flag would get his. I mean, Maylock, Marquise Brown is really important to them.
Yeah.
They've got some length to combat. I mean, Maylock down low could he's nothing special, I guess. Marquise Brown's a really good defender, is long. But Florida's just got more. They've got like legit 11 guys.
I know, man. They are the most balanced team in the SEC, and the SEC by far was the most dominant conference this year. So it's hard for me to pick against the most balanced team out of the deepest conference.
And at that point, they'd run some guys. They'd run some guys at Cooper. Like Houck could maybe guard him a little bit. I mean, Condon not necessarily, but Houck's got length. Chinalu's got length. Like there's some guys that could move their feet that could, make it a little bit difficult on him. He'd drive into trees. So,
yep.
Yeah, that'd be a good one though. Florida Duke is kind of the one we've seen. Auburn Duke, we've seen Auburn Florida, we've seen Florida Tennessee, we've seen Florida Alabama. Florida Duke's like the one we haven't seen because Auburn played. I guess Tennessee or Duke or Alabama Duke, but Florida Duke's like the one. I do agree that would be a phenomenal national championship game. Wouldn't be mad watching that.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I mean, want Auburn to get there. Everybody chill out.
Sure.
But as a basketball fan, we'll see what happens. This year is interesting, man. And again, this is just off the top of the head. But I don't remember a year in recent memory where the number 4 seeds were so clear cut at deserving of the number 1 seeds and just what they accomplished this year. I mean, normally you have like the number 1 seed, you're like, okay, they're the number 1 overall. But most years, man, you you could pick and choose between one of the ones, and you could look at the twos and go, well, those guys could be a 1 or maybe even a 3. Or this is the first time I can remember where it's like the 4 1s are the 4 1s, and there is
Yes.
zero debate. I mean, it was only like maybe Tennessee, Florida, but once Florida won, like there's just no debate. Like they're not just that you would probably say they're the 4 best teams right now, but their resumes back it up. And it's just they're the 4. Like, and they've really, I would say they've separated themselves. I would say Tennessee and Bama were right there, though. I think Bama beating Auburn, Tennessee beating Auburn. Those 6 have just separated themselves. But more so those 4, because I think those 4 have shown themselves night in and night out to be borderline elite, if not elite, on both ends of the floor. Alabama doesn't always do it on defense. Tennessee doesn't always do it on offense. And everybody's an off night. But those 4, both ends of the floor, have been phenomenal. Nobody else in the country can really say, like, we've been damn near elite on both ends all year. Those 4 can.
Yep.
Man, it'll be good. We'll see what happens. Auburn, Alabama State, 1:50 Central, Thursday, CBS. Don't know the Saturday time. Man, for fans that are going up there, go to basketball Thursday. Go to baseball, Auburn at Kentucky Friday.
Yes.
Go back to basketball Saturday. Go back to baseball Sunday, or go back to a doubleheader Saturday. I don't know what you're going to do, but go to the Bourbon Trail. Like you could really knock this trip out of the park if you're able to go. But we'll see. Auburn needs to just get past this first one, put the bad taste out of their mouth from Yale and all that junk, get some mojo back, and just play well. Even the Jabari team, they didn't play that well against Jack State.
No.
A couple years ago, they won by 2021, but they didn't stretch it out like you would have liked to have seen, and then lost to Miami. So I want to see this Auburn team sit down and guard and just suffocate them. They need to hold Alabama State to 58, 60 points, and then nothing. And then the offense will come after that. You do that, you're going to score 85, and this thing won't, 85 plus. I don't want to see Alabama State getting to 68 points or anywhere sniffing 70 points. That's not what I want to see. I want to see Alabama State sitting at 56 with 3 minutes left.
Fair. Very fair. I think that's a pretty fair critique.
Yeah. All right. We'll get out of here. We'll come back next week and we'll chat about hopefully Auburn getting ready for the Sweet 16. If not, we'll do a little season in review. And we'll talk about what Auburn needs going into next year. But let's hope we can put that off and not do that next week.
Correct.
All right. Go to auburnlive.com, subscribe. $1. What do we have? $1 right now? $1 special for like the first week. So go take advantage of that. Go to YouTube, subscribe, turn on notifications, all that good stuff. And we'll come back next week. See you guys.